Welcome back, snow lovers, to a week which began very similar to how the previous week finished. Warm, dry and very sunny across all of the Alps. Although, slowly but surely, we are starting to see a change moving in from the west. Monday was hot and sunny virtually everywhere, very much shorts and t-shirt weather even up on the mountain, although I seem to be the only person who actually got the memo. But from Monday night onwards, we've slowly seen the encroachment of a few weak weather fronts into the western and southwestern Alps. We've already seen a half-decent covering of snow down in the far southwest, in the Alps Maritime and in the Italian Piemonte. The likes of Isola 2000 and Prato Novoso have had a light covering of snow down to resort level. And in the rest of the Western Alps, we've seen more cloud cover since Tuesday, with a few light flurries of snow on the upper mountain and a little bit of light rain lower down, but nothing meaningful as of yet. Although, as I speak, it is now raining quite heavily down where I live, which does mean that we'll be seeing a covering of snow up high. We're expecting around about 10 centimetres of snow tonight in the northwestern Alps. So nothing mega, but enough to give a little bit of a refresh above about 1800 metres. Below that, might see a little bit of snow down to 15 or 1600 metres, but it's going to be rain, largely speaking, on the lower mountain. So it's not going to be hugely transformative just yet, although we are expecting a lot more snow in the weekend. More on that towards the end of this video. But at the very least, it's going to give the upper slopes a bit of a refresh, a bit of a chance to recover from the hot weather that we've seen so far. We haven't been seeing the extreme high temperatures that we saw just a couple of weeks ago when freezing levels were well above 3,000 metres quite widely, but freezing levels have still consistently been well above 2,000 metres for the entirety of the last week or more, at times getting up above 2,500 metres. And with the sun getting stronger now day on day, it has felt very toasty, both in resort and up on the mountain. But on the most part, the snow had been holding up pretty well, because with clear skies at night, we were at least seeing a good refreeze, so it was very much freeze-thaw cycles, giving quality spring corn. Unfortunately, that has deteriorated in the west over the last couple of days, as we have been seeing more cloud cover, which does mean there hasn't been a proper refreeze overnight. So the slush has just been getting deeper and deeper day on day. So today up on the mountain, the snow conditions were actually pretty poor. Even at relatively high altitudes, the snow has still been deteriorating fast. We're seeing brown patches, we're seeing deep piles of slush, areas which are scraped down to the icy base, so right now at least the snow hasn't been great. But, as I say, we are expecting some more snow in the short to medium term. In the Eastern Alps, it has remained clear and sunny so far this week, which does mean that the snow has been setting up firm overnight. So first thing in the morning, the piste has been very icy in the likes of Austria and in the Dolomites. It's been softening up at around 11 AM, obviously depending on which aspect you're facing and how high up you are. And then by the middle of the afternoon, it's been getting very slushy before it then refreezes again overnight. So in other words, classic spring conditions out east at the moment. But they too are expecting to see a little bit of snow over tonight as well, and then they will also be seeing more over the weekend too. We're getting to the point in the season now where if you want to find the best on-piste conditions, you do need to head to quite high resorts. So on the mid and upper mountain, snow coverage is still absolutely excellent, but lower down it's becoming very patchy, very thin and very scraped in places. Indeed, some lower resorts will have lost their snow completely by now. Over the weekend, I visited Avoria in the Porte du Soleil, and there the snow quality was excellent from Avoria upwards, again above 1800 metres, but below Avoria, so heading down towards Morzine, the snow was getting very patchy. Indeed, down to Morzine itself, the snow is all but gone now. The pistes are still open, down into Plenay, but they're looking quite patchy and quite bare in places. In Leger, the snow quality looked to be a little bit better, it is a little bit higher, but still, to find the best snow in the Porte du Soleil, your best bet is to head up to Avoria. But still, I would argue that right about now, second or third week of March, is probably the best time of year to be going for a piste skiing holiday, if that's what you're after, assuming of course that you're not tied to the school holidays. The snow, generally speaking, is much more reliable at this time of year than it is in, say, December or early January. Plus, the days are much longer, you've got a lot more daylight now, which means that ski areas are generally staying open much later than they are in December and January. My local resorts at this time of year are open well past 5 PM, whereas in the depths of December and early January, they're closing at around about 4 PM. It's also much quieter now than it is, again, in December, January, and especially February. It's incredibly quiet at the moment. Now that the school holidays are finally over, the last school holidays in France finished last weekend, so now it is really quiet. Almost ghostly quiet in some resorts. Sure, in the big honeypot resorts, especially the high-up resorts, it will still be fairly busy. You haven't got to go too far from the big-name resorts to find a bit of peace and quiet. Also, the weather is often better at this time of year as well than it is in the middle of the winter. So if you like quiet peace, good snow coverage, good quality groomers, and plenty of sunshine, then definitely think about booking your ski holidays around the 2nd or 3rd week of March. It'll probably come as no surprise, but the official 3 months of meteorological winter, at least here in France, have been overwhelmingly above average temperatures. Apart from a brief 2 or 3 week period in January where it did actually get very, very cold, the rest of this winter so far has been very, very mild. This is data averaged over the entirety of France, but here in the Alps, from what I've seen, it very much agrees with this data. And we've once again been experiencing another prolonged period of high pressure over the last 2 or 3 weeks, but that is finally losing its grip. As I've already mentioned, we've seen the first weak weather fronts encroaching from the west, and we're set to see a big change this coming weekend. On Saturday, we're going to see a cold front moving down from the northwest, which looks set to stall over northern Italy, indeed even develop into its own mini area of low pressure, which does mean that we could see some quite considerable snowfall totals on the Italian side of the margin, on the Western Alps in particular. But not just here, virtually everywhere in the Alps should see some snow this coming weekend. On the French side of the margin, we're widely expecting to see 30 to 40 centimetres of snow above about 2,000 metres, and we will even see some snow down to resort level once again, as freezing levels are set to plummet down not just to average, but indeed briefly below average. We could even see some snow down to around about 700 metres for a time. But it's in Italy where things get really interesting. We're initially going to see a fairly classic northwestern Atlantic depression coming in with winds coming up from the west and the southwest. But then, as I say, as the front stalls, it's potentially going to develop into a mini area of low pressure, which is going to sit over the Po Valley in northern Italy, resulting in a retour d'est situation yet again, which means copious amounts of snow on the Italian side of the margin of the Western Alps. The focal point of this storm has been shifting from one forecast to the next. At one point in time, it looked like the far southwest would be seeing the bulk of the snow, the likes of Prato and Vosso once again. Other forecasts have been giving it hit in the Via Lattea. Right now, it looks like it's the Gran Paradiso National Park and the southern side, the Monte Rosa Massif, which are going to get hit really, really hard. Which again, that might change before this all happens, but if this comes to pass, then currently we're expecting some areas are going to see well over a metre of snowfall at around about 2,000 metres, and a few isolated spots could well even see up to 2 metres of snow. But quite widely on the Italian side of the margin, we are going to see half a metre to a metre of snow, even down to quite low levels yet again. So, resorts such as Sestriere in the Via Lattea, Pila and Gressanay in Aosta, and even the likes of Saas-Fee in Switzerland are currently looking really, really good for early next week, with a big dump of snow over the weekend, followed by some good settled weather at the start of next week, which, for a few days at least, is looking to stay reasonably cold. So there could be some really good powder to be found in those resorts early next week for anybody who has the opportunity to get there. The Eastern Alps are going to miss the bulk of this storm this time around. Indeed, it's staying much warmer for much longer there as well, with the cold weather not setting in until probably the early next week. But they are expecting to see at least some snow throughout the latter part of this week and into the weekend, even if it is just only a few centimetres. Looking further ahead, and things are still very uncertain beyond the middle of next week. Some computer models have high pressure building in once again, bringing warm, dry, sunny and fair weather. Others have it staying largely unsettled with more periods of snow and yo-yoing freezing levels, bringing a mix of warm sunny days, cool and wet days as well. So it's still all to play for beyond the middle of next week. But through the weekend at least, like I say, we are guaranteed to see some decent snow virtually everywhere. But this is going to come with a whole new set of dangers, as we have just in effect created a new persistent weak layer, or what will become a persistent weak layer in the snowpack yet again. We've just had 2 to 3 weeks of dry, warm, sunny weather. We now have a very firm base with a sugary top layer yet again, which is about to become buried under what will be in some places quite substantial amounts of snow. Like I say, 1 to 2 metres of snow in some places is going to be sitting on top of this unstable, weak, sugary layer. The avalanche risk is going to go up yet again, just as everybody has started to become complacent and become settled with it being down at 1 and 2 across much of the Alps over the last week or so. Thankfully, at least, the Alps are much, much quieter now than they were during the last big period of snowfall, so there are far fewer people around to be creating mischief. But unfortunately, I guarantee that we will see some incidents and some fatalities over this period of snowfall. That's just what's happened every time it snowed this year, and we don't seem to be able to break that cycle. So if you are still in the Alps at the moment, or you happen to be coming out next week, then remember everything that's happened so far this season. It's been a very, very tragic season so far. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll refer you to my avalanche special from last week. But yeah, there's been a lot of avalanche fatalities throughout this season, and please, please, please don't let there be more in this coming week. So if you're in doubt, play it safe and stick to the pistes. It's been a little while since I've given you a roundup of the snow depths, so here they are once again. And starting in the far southwest, in Isola 2000, and they currently have an upper base of 200 centimetres and a lower base of 160 centimetres, so things down there are still looking really, really good. They've seen around 15 to 20 centimetres of snow over the last day or so, and they're expecting a really good dump of snow this weekend, potentially 50 centimetres to a metre of snow coming on Saturday. In the Durs Alp, and things are still looking really, really healthy on the upper mountain, with an upper base of 330 centimetres. A bit thinner on the lower slopes, but still healthy enough, with a base of 60 centimetres. They've seen a little bit of a dusting of snow over the last day or so, with 4 or 5 centimetres, and expecting probably another 30 to 40 centimetres of snow over the weekend. So nothing mega, but still another good refresh. Further north, and the Clusaz have got an upper base of 270 centimetres, so again, really, really healthy up there. Lower down, got a base of around 35 centimetres, so starting to get a bit thin low down. It is quite a low resort, but it's still enough to be skiing on. They've not seen any meaningful snow there since the 20th of February, so it has been pretty dry for the last 3 weeks there. But they are expecting to see around 30 centimetres of snow this coming weekend. Moving across to Italy, and Pila and Aosta are still only reporting an upper base of 50 centimetres, a lower base of 30 centimetres. But they've been reporting that virtually all season, so I don't put much faith in that, to be honest. It's been a pretty good season in that part of the world, so I expect they've got a lot more snow than they're actually claiming to have. They received a light dusting of around 5 centimetres yesterday, and they are expecting a potential good dump of snow this weekend. Some reports are saying upwards of a metre of snow, some reports are saying around about 40 to 50 centimetres, but even so, whatever they're going to get is going to be pretty good. But Alagna, in the Monte Rosa resort, is where it gets really interesting. At the moment, they're reporting an upper base of 85 centimetres and a lower base of 50 centimetres, so not disastrous, but still pretty modest. They've received around 5 or 6 centimetres today and yesterday, but they could potentially be seeing 1 to 2 metres of snow over the weekend, so things are set to change there dramatically. And in Switzerland, Saas-Fee have an upper base depth of 254 centimetres, which is actually still quite modest considering it is a high altitude glacier resort, but of course nothing to complain about. On the lower slopes they've got a base of 44 centimetres. They've received a dusting of snow yesterday and today, and again they could potentially be seeing upwards of a metre or more of snow over the weekend. And on the north side of the Rhone Valley, Villars have an upper base of 135 centimetres, a lower base of 30 centimetres, but they haven't seen any snow there since the 20th of February, so a good 2-3 weeks now. They are expecting around 20 to 30 centimetres of snow over the coming weekend, so that should refresh things a little bit, but they are going to miss out on most of the fun, unfortunately. Moving across to Austria, and Pitztal in the Tyrol have an upper base of 180 centimetres, which again, that's very, very modest really for a high altitude glacier resort, and a lower base of 75 centimetres. They've seen a very light dusting of snow today, and they're going to continue to see a light snowfall throughout the week, but nothing really major until potentially earlier into the start of next week. And further east, Schladming have an upper base of 90 centimetres, a lower base of 80 centimetres. It hasn't snowed there since the 24th of February, where they received around 25 centimetres of snow. I'm not expecting anything meaningful in the coming week either, just a few light flurries over the weekend and into next week. And up until that point it is staying pretty mild, with anything falling out of the sky, probably falling as rain before the weekend at the very least. And finally, the Dolomites, and Araba have an upper base of 90 centimetres, a lower base of 80 centimetres. They saw a light dusting of snow last week of around 4 centimetres, and they are going to continue to see a few light dustings of snow throughout this week and into next week, but again, nothing meaningful. So, as has been the case for much of this season really, the Dolomites have got the worst snow cover across the Alps at the moment. So there you have it from another week in the Alps. Once again, west are definitely best. And also, if you are wanting to find good reliable snow, you are going to head high. We've still got a long way to go in this season for the higher resorts, with many of them staying open into the start of May. But for some of the lower resorts now, they're really starting to struggle, and indeed some may well have already closed. So while there is still plenty of great skiing to be had right across the Alps, and there will continue to be so for weeks and weeks to come, the pool of resorts available to ski at is slowly but surely starting to dwindle. Thanks once again to Snow Camps Europe for their contributions this week. If you want a more detailed snow report from the Zellumsee and Caprin area in Austria, then head across to their channel and check them out. And if you've got this far and you found value out this video, then please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It massively helps out the channel. And to everybody else, you'll be hearing from me very, very shortly.